The following program is brought to you by your friends at Podcast One.
Your life, your country. You're listening to the Laura Ingraham Podcast.
I don't care whether a mayor is a Republican or a Democrat. They're full of crap when they say it hasn't made a big difference. I heard the same thing from the fake news. They said, oh, crime actually stayed the same. Didn't stay the same. Went way down. And look at what they did to their past crimes, and look at how they recorded those past crimes. Went way, way down. These people, you think they'd want to get to the bottom of a problem and solve a problem, not try and pull the wool over everybody's eyes. So for those few people that are out there on television saying, oh, it didn't make too much of a difference, it made a tremendous... People from El Paso, am I right? Thanks to a powerful border wall in El Paso, Texas, it's one of America's safest cities now. You're talking a few feet away, right? A few feet. Got a wall. It's a few feet away. Last year, Juarez had 1,200 murders. El Paso, right next door, a few feet away, had 23 murders. That's not good either. But 23 compared to 1,200. Walls work.
Well, of course, that was from the big rally that we were at in El Paso, Texas, which is in the westernmost southern tip of farthest southwest. What's the right wording? Right?
Yes,
I'm so sleep deprived.
It's the furthest to the west.
Furthest to the
Texas.
west, you can get. So you're basically closer to Denver than you are to almost Dallas. Everyone kept telling me when we were in El Paso last night. It was wild. And it was a massive crowd. It was probably in that arena, Raymond, what was it maybe? Raymond Arroyo was with us, of course. It was maybe...
Well, it was about 10,000 people inside the arena.
Yeah.
And I would say between 15 and 20,000 outside.
Oh, my God. It was unbelievable. I thought maybe there'd be a couple hundred people because it was so cold outside. We had to do our show.
Texas.
We had to do our show outside after the rally, but I had to sit and wait for the rally to end. So I'm sitting, of course, in pumps and like pantyhose in my suit, and I'm freezing. My toes were. But the people, I gotta say, one thing. We'll get into the border fight and the border shutdown and the border deal and all the tumult about that. But before we do, I think it's important for people to know this. El Paso is a majority Hispanic city. I think it's about 70% Hispanic, something like that. 65% Democrats, 35% Republicans. It is a border city on the border of Mexico, specifically one of the most dangerous cities in Mexico, Juarez, which is basically owned and operated by the Sinaloa cartel. Thousands and thousands of murders. And the last few years have been among the highest on record. And we're talking not just like run-of-the-mill murders. We're talking decapitations, heads rolled into bars and restaurants, revenge killings. I mean, it is no man's land. And then there's a big barrier. It's a wall/fence, but it's a steel barrier running through the border. And this goes for, I don't know how many, dozens and dozens of miles. I mean, it goes along, maybe even more than that, but it's a significant barrier.
The barrier along the border it's 180 miles, I think, long. So it was done in increments between 2008 to around 2010.
Yeah, so it's done over time. So there was a big dispute. Like the best they could do with Trump is say, well, it was a safe city before the wall, and there was a little uptick in violence after the wall. And now it's nothing to do with the wall, that things are safe. And I'm thinking, wait a second. Does that mean that you actually prefer the wall not to be there? So no wall. And we talked to so many people who were gathered at the show when we were taping the show. We talked to so many people. I had a chance to go through the crowd, met a lot of folks. I'd say 80% Hispanic, right, Raymond, in that crowd? 80, easy.
Absolutely.
And not more.
Absolutely.
It was unbelievable. And we shouted out a number of times, do you want that wall to come down? No, they're screaming that wall is in part what keeps that city safe. And if Beto O'Rourke, who did a competing rally, if he thought it was not necessary, then why didn't he do his show in Juarez? Because everywhere it's binational, America's original binational city. That's what's in the airport. And I'm so sick of that binational. I don't like that at all. You're one or the other. You're not binational, okay? The nice people in El Paso, that's kind of a marketing slogan that they're pushing. Like, it's okay. It's okay. It's binational. It's okay. Not that there's anything wrong with it. It's all okay. Well, it's probably okay if people are good faith actors and respect the laws of each other's country. Yeah, in a utopian world, then yeah, we wouldn't have to worry about any of this. But sadly, there are bad actors out there who are pumping our country filled with fentanyl, who are running human trafficking rings, and who are smuggling workers up across the border, along with a lot of other stuff that we don't want. And we're going to get into some of the diseases that now they thought we were, basically had eradicated in the United States because of our vaccinations and so forth. Now they're popping up everywhere, especially in California, big migrant communities. But what was fascinating is that the people just seemed to get it. And I know Beto had a smaller crowd at the beginning. Raymond did a great piece for Fox News for the Ingraham angle, and you can see that if you have to DVR so you don't miss anything, but you'll be able to watch that, DVR the show, and you'll see Raymond's piece at the Beto rally, which was hilarious. But for the most part, people seem to get it, and the politicians don't seem to. And Raymond, again, we're going to get into the border deal and why I think it's a raw deal, but talk, Raymond, about the federal presence, the federal law enforcement presence in that city of El Paso.
This is what people miss. The reason the crime is so low, and always traditionally has been rather low, is because of the enormous federal presence. Laura, we saw it everywhere we turned around. There was somebody from drug enforcement, border security, FBI.
ICE.
There's ICE. There's a large federal presence there. But the other statistic, they always say crime went up, and it did slightly go up 5% after the wall was built in the first year, but then it went down with the national dives in crime. Here's what went down that nobody wants to talk about. The wall obstructed the flow of drugs. Border security claims they intercepted half of the amount of drugs before or after the wall was built as opposed to before. It halved the amount of drugs that seeped across the border. So if that's its only utility, and we know it has others, okay, because the number of people coming across the border, the people arrested went down from like 150,000 down to 25,000, okay, post-wall. So it is effective. The question is, how are you gauging that effectiveness? Now, the president and the media decided to focus exclusively on crime stats. That's not an accurate barometer of its effectiveness always. It is a telling number, but not the sole number. So, look, I learned a lot down here. We had a number of border security guys, Hispanic guys, who came up to me while you were on television, and were talking my ear off about how successful they feel the wall is, that it needs to continue, it needs to be strengthened and extended in the El Paso region. At least that was their take on it.
You're listening to the Laura Ingraham podcast. I want to thank all of our sponsors who provide this podcast to you free every week. Legacybox.com, Stamps.com, and Genucel. You'll learn more about their great products later on in the show. And we ran into, by the way, one Border Patrol, I keep saying Border Patrol, ICE officer and his colleague at the airport. And this was early in the morning when we were leaving El Paso the next morning after the rally at night, after having gotten about 3.5 hours sleep. That was fun. First of all, that hotel, they were the nicest people at the hotel, but it's literally over an interstate all night long. And then it's going to be a rough night when on your pillow you don't get a mint, you have earplugs. Orange earplugs. And first of all, you can't roll over on your side because they're the hard kind and they jam into your ear canal. all night. I think I have one lodge still in my ear right now. It was brutal. So we stumbled to the airport early in the morning to come up to Dallas. And we're at the airport. Of course, Raymond doesn't have his boarding pass because heaven forbid he gets that in his email ahead of time. And so he doesn't have his boarding pass. So he's sitting at that machine trying to get it to work. And we both look over our shoulder and we see three men who something didn't seem right. They looked like they were from the Middle East or something. And that's not even what we're talking about. They've all carried white, industrial looking plastic bags.
Like hefty bags.
Yeah, hefty bags, but they were kind of thick. And they were sitting there not speaking. And they were looking on toward the kiosks where we didn't know what was going on. But then this guy comes up to me, about 6'5", huge Hispanic guy, comes up to me. He goes, "You Laura Ingraham?" And I said, "Yes." And he said, I'm with ICE. And he said, "I just want to thank you for what you do for us and what you do for the country." I said, "Oh my gosh, thank you." I said, "God, you look like you played football. You're huge." We're making small talk. And then he points over to the three men with the white plastic bags and he says, "Those are my deportees. I'm escorting them today." I said, "Oh, pray tell, where are you taking these lovelies?" And he said, "Well, we're going through Dallas to Newark, and then we offload them on to a flight to India." That's got to be a 20-hour. That's just a bitch of a flight. Okay, to India. Well, he said, "Well, they're not high value, but they're visa overstays." So but do you know we have? I think it's like 800,000, 1 million, 2 million people on visa. I mean, we have some ridiculous figure of people on visa overstays, a number. And he said, "That's your tax dollars at work. They're here illegally. This is a huge problem." And so we followed. We were right behind them, and they had their dress with like Nike sweat tops on, and they had like zip ups, and they didn't. Do you notice that the detainees or the deportees, they didn't seem bothered at all? They were like getting 3 squares, getting their meals on the plane. They weren't in chains or anything. They were violent criminals, but nevertheless good. They should not be in the country. Period. They should not be. It was interesting to talk to him, and he said, "Don't let them tell you that wall in my town of El Paso." He said he's been there since he was a little boy. He said, "Don't let them tell you that wall doesn't work." Oh, and they regaled us with stories about the rolling heads and the bodies, dozens of bodies found in Juarez, and what it was like before when he was a little boy.
Yep.
What it was like before.
And he was Hispanic.
Oh, yeah. As I said, he was Hispanic, but he was just great. He loves Trump.
By the way, DHS, last year, they estimated there were 606,000 suspected in-country overstays, visa overstays. So you have to then employ people to go detect where these people are and deport them.
Because we don't track people biometrically in this country. We don't have mandatory E-Verify, where if you violate that E-Verify, you should never be allowed to come into the country again. Once you've crossed our border illegally, that should be it for you. You don't respect our laws, that's it. Oh, by the way, again, we'll get into the border deal. I know I'm promising and I'm not delivering, but we'll get into the border deal. It's just so upsetting to me that I have to take a breath before I get to it. So you have to do. How about that Menendez, that Robert Menendez travesty of a senator from New Jersey? Okay, he comes out and he says that we shouldn't be paying attention to the illegals who have DUI convictions.
The reason that they are already 8,000 over their budgeted amount, so they're violating the budget, is because of the president's zero tolerance policy that has turned everyone, regardless of their record, into a criminal. For example, if you cross the border undocumented, he has now made you a criminal. He is creating that problem by turning people away who legitimately seek asylum. If a person has a driving while under the influence violation, he is now making that, saying that that's a criminal.
Oh, okay. Anything else? So, in other words, the Democrats want to treat the illegal immigrants better than the regular Americans get treated. We have to pay a price if we get stopped for drunk driving, especially try that in another country. Raymond, you know how Germany and Europe, you get caught drunk driving, forget it. They throw the book at you. They deport you in 5 seconds out of Germany if you're drunk driving. Complete outrage.
Because they don't want you endangering their citizens.
Right. Well, because people die every day of every week in the United States because of drunk driving. We already have enough problems with drunk driving. We don't need more problems. We need no more problems. All right. You're listening to the Laura Ingraham podcast. And as usual, we'll take your calls. Remember, you want to be part of the show. You just email me at ingram.podcast@gmail.com. That's ingram.podcast@gmail.com. And we'll talk about whether you like this border deal that it looks like Trump's probably going to agree to, with the promise that he's going to keep fighting for the wall or get money somewhere else for the wall. But it's a pig in a poke. It's this thing.
Well, the question is, where does he get the money from? Without declaring a national emergency, where do you get the money?
No, okay. Here's what's in the deal.
Uh-oh.
So remember, this is by way of mentioning that Trump wanted $25 billion with a B last year for the wall. $25 billion. He comes down somehow to $5 billion after the Republicans lost the House of Representatives.
Somebody told me that he expected that he would get an annual appropriation of $5 billion for 5 years.
Yeah,
to get him to $25 billion.
And the road is paved with caramel and butterscotch. What? Yeah. You just get every year they just re-up it for another $5 billion because the Democrats love the idea of a wall. Well, they used to when Clinton was president, but they don't like it anymore.
Look, that's what I found at this Beto rally. The people hated the idea of a wall only because Donald Trump is giving voice to it and it's his signature promise. If it wasn't, they really don't. They said, oh, the wall has helped us here. When you push them, they were there. Now, these are people who are dressing up, making posters, coming out to protest. And when you really push them, that's their end game. Well, the wall's not so bad. No, it's not racist. It's just we don't like Donald Trump. He's racist. Oh, okay. So what changed? Well, nothing changed. Trump changed. Trump changed the map.
Yeah.
Trump made this radioactive.
Made them more. But the thing that's really, the more you think about it, as frustrating as it is that he hasn't gotten the money for the wall and it's not where we wanted it to be, and Paul Ryan screwing everything up and the omnibus and all the stuff we'll get into. Despite all that, the Democrats keep screwing up in a way that is just a gift to us. When the American people go common sense, they go left. When the American people go pragmatic, they go further left. When the American people say, well, common sense enforcement it's kind of just that's every country does that. Mm-hmm. They say no, because that's Trump. It's real, the phrase Trump derangement syndrome really, it gets overused, but it really is true. It's a complete Trump derangement syndrome. Okay, so $1.375 billion for a barrier that's basically the barrier that Trump had agreed to before. So it's not a concrete wall; it's like the steel slats or whatever. But it's pretty much, it looks a lot like what they have in Juarez. In the El Paso Juarez border, which seems to work pretty well. Mm-hmm. But you know how much you can build for that? 55 miles. Mm. You got hundreds and hundreds of miles you have to build.
Yeah.
He gets 55.
He wanted a 1,000-mile wall.
Oh, my God. And then what else does it have, Raymond?
Well, there's an average cap on the beds, okay? And these are the ICE beds for detainees.
Average daily
cap of 40,520 beds. Now, that is fewer than the 9,000 that are currently occupied. Okay, so they have put a daily cap beneath what the president needs today. However, and this is where it gets confusing, he has the authority to boost that number, but he'd have to pull money from other parts of the security or border budget. So this gets very technical and wonky, but their big desire was to limit the number of beds drastically so the president couldn't detain border breakers, but have to catch and release them into the country.
But then I thought they said they weren't ceding to the Democrats' demand for a cap. That's what Shelby's office was contending.
This is kind of a halfway point where they are, but they're not. They are, but they give the president the flexibility to get around it. How much you want to bet the money comes out of the border barrier money if he wants it? That's probably the kitty he has to rob to get more beds, if I had to guess. We don't have all the details, and there's no legislation to like yet, Laura. So we're just speculating on that.
They want to write it, so nobody has time to read it.
Right.
They're writing it at the last minute.
And it's got to be signed by Friday.
So gotta go.
It's going to be the pork in this thing. Going to be like a barbecue cookout in Texas.
It's only 1.375, but what else is in it? That's just for the barrier. So there's got to be there's 7 other bills. There's 7 other bills to authorize the various parts of government that would shut down otherwise. Remember, it's all tied. It was one continuing resolution that kept things running till Friday. So while we're all focusing on this measly 1.3 billion, how many other billions are they spending through these other 7 spending bills? See, with Congress, you've got to keep your eye on the whole picture, not just one thing, because then that's where if Nancy Pelosi is drawing up the bill, you better beware. And this originates in the House Appropriations Committee. So she has control over this. We got some other news breaking on this border deal, which I'm going to get to. We have lots of great moments from the Beto flop of a rally. But he did have a decent crowd at the end. He had some thousands of people, like 5,000 people or so. But that's his hometown. Should we get Pretty Boy should be able to get a lot more than that. But, they whip people up from out of state. And I don't know.
A lot of the people I interviewed were from Denver, California, some from Canada, a lot of Spanish speakers who told me they had come up from south of the border to join the protest. Interesting.
All right. So this now we're learning about this deal. Okay, this is Mark Meadows, of course, from the Freedom Caucus. Again, they don't have enough Freedom Caucus members to make a big difference. If the Democrats and Republicans get together, because the Democrats already have the House majority, they're all going to vote for this. And enough Republicans, there's no stopping it, but this is what his analysis is. This conference agreement is hardly a serious attempt to secure our border or stop the flow of illegal immigration. He said, at this point, it's clear POTUS should take executive action. Despite his opposition to the deal, Meadows said he expected Trump to sign it. I think he will do so reluctantly and then obviously have to use executive actions to secure the border. One of the president's advisors believes the best approach for Trump would be to veto the congressional proposal in the expectation that lawmakers would override the veto. That would require votes from 2/3 of the chamber, meaning 20 Republicans who now hold a 53-47 majority would need to vote publicly to cross the president, assuming all Democrats voted to override. That's from the Wall Street Journal. Might that be a good move for the president, or does that make him look strong or weak? I could make the case both ways. None of it's good. None of this is good.
When you look, the president should have learned with the omnibus bill.
Oh my God.
When you let Congress take the lead, you don't get a good result. By allowing Congress, Barack Obama allowed the same thing with health care. Nancy drove the ship on it. He rubber stamped it. Ditto for the president. He should have come out with his own plan that was very clear and told his caucus, this is all we want. Here's where we're willing to give. That's the deal. I'm not sure if that ever happened. So when you let a couple of Congress people and a couple of senators craft a deal behind closed doors.
This is what happened. This also happened with Obamacare repeal.
Right.
They let Congress do it.
Figure it out.
A disaster. Didn't work. It just didn't work. This is their job. They're supposed to be able to do this, but the president's one who seems to be closer in touch with the people. By the way, this is what McConnell said today. Maybe Raymond will give us some other language to describe it. Mitch McConnell spoke out.
Last night, Chairman Shelby, Senator Leahy, and their counterparts in the House announced they've reached an agreement in principle. Certainly good news. It provides new funds for miles of new border barriers, and it completes all 7 outstanding appropriation bills so Congress can complete a funding process for all the outstanding parts of the federal government with predictability and with certainty.
Yay, that's what we wanted. We needed the predictability and certainty of a Congress that won't do its constitutional duty.
Well, Laura, we need those 7 outstanding bills.
Oh my God. It is.
Elaine, we can go to dinner and we won't be closing down on Friday.
We can go home now to Kentucky.
Or that margarita joint we like so much.
Terrible. Keep that transportation department. Elaine Chao, who is a lovely person, is Mitch McConnell's wife, who happens to be the Secretary of Transportation, where I cut my speechwriting teeth, I'll have you know, back in the dark ages, in the late 80s.
Was that when transportation were T-Rex and pterodactyls?
Now we have to hear from Pretty Boy Beto, who I've now hashtagged Beto never mind. Let's listen.
We know that walls do not save lives. Walls end lives. In the last 10 years, more than 4,000 children, women, and men have died trying to come to this country, to work jobs that no one will take, to be with a family member, to flee horrific brutality and violence and death in their home countries. And as we build these walls, 600 miles of the 2,000-mile border walled up and counting, we push them to ever more treacherous and remote stretches of the U.S.-Mexico border, thereby ensuring greater suffering and death.
Well, what's interesting is back in 2015, he tweeted out when he was a congressman, tear down these walls.
Right.
Because walls separate people, don't you know? And walls are, wildlife gets hurt, and transportation and commerce of people too. I mean, it's like, they're very inconvenient, these barriers, because you have to actually have an orderly flow. At least you would hope, unless you're El Chapo and you have a big tunnel going under the border, which also is a problem. So Beto is, I think he's revealed himself without a doubt to be a complete open borders fanatic. There's no question about it. When you say tear down the barrier, so now he's telling the people of El Paso that they've got to live side by side with the criminals Juarez. That's what they have to do for this utopian idea of open borders.
He said they're a transnational domain. This is a transnational city where we share our culture, we share our food, we share ourselves. I think he's trans, not
he's trans or bi.
Yeah. Because he said multiple cultures, multiple cultures.
Poly.
So polynational. Polynational.
I'm very confused about all the. I can barely keep a few terms straight at this point. So, but he's kind of an attractive guy. I mean, he's an attractive.
What does that have to do with anything?
Well, I'm just thinking of, the youngsters who are coming up through politics and they see these idealistic. He's kind of a skinny, Caucasian version of Obama, but without any of the political skill.
Mm-hmm.
Obama had a lot of political skill, I think. I mean, he had a strut, he had a way of speaking. I have to say, I don't find Beto to be particularly compelling as a speaker. Let's listen to more from his rally.
We stand for America, and we stand against walls. We know that there is no bargain in which we can sacrifice some of our humanity to gain a little more security. We know that we deserve and will lose both of them if we do. We stand for the best traditions and values of this country, for our fellow humanity, and who we are when we are at our best. And that's El Paso, Texas. I'm glad the country's here to see us.
I kept saying, I'm like tapping my fingers on the table. I'm like, is this ever going to...
We are the best with our shared humanity, that we are the people who can be the best in our community.
I like it when he says little.
Humanity, for togetherness, for us all.
Little. He says little.
He has no gravitas. It's a kind of gravelly shout. It's a general shout.
Someone told me I look like a Kennedy. So I try to point and do the gestures.
And yell.
But it kind of falls flat.
Yeah, there's no real it's not real passion. It's not real passion.
No,
it's all kind of,
manufactured.
it's squeezing
Well,
the
we met
organ.
some folks last night who knew him pretty well.
Yes, we did.
Oh, yeah, and they told us all sorts of
Interesting background about his lineage
Yeah.
and the O'Rourke family. And
yeah.
oh, they've got an interesting story there, the
Yes.
O'Rourkes. No Spaniards there, dearie. They're all a lot of Irish stories, though.
Oh my God, no, there was some interesting
Mm-hmm.
run-ins with the law and lawsuits, and but who doesn't get
What's
stuck
that
in
old country
lawsuits?
song? It's a family tradition.
Oh yeah, God, we just broke the mic on that one. Okay, what's your gift this Valentine's Day? Now, how about taking 10 to 15 years off your appearance? How does that sound? Well,
Ooh.
my friends over at Chamonix with their Genucel jawline treatment want to help. So all the skin that you have to worry about around your jawline, it kind of shows your age first, like your eyes and your jawline. You're going to start looking and feeling better. Like, just listen to Linda B. from Marina Del Rey. She said, I love your jawline cream. It really works. She says she really sees a difference. People don't believe her age when she tells them. Well, I like hearing these stories. Please keep them coming, and we'll share them in future podcasts. And from now until Valentine's Day, the brand new Genucel jawline treatment is yours free when you order the flagship Genucel for bags and puffiness under the eyes. And you'll see results really fast. And by the way, the immediate effects cream is also free. So all you need to do, text EYES1, that's EYES1, to 77453. That's EYES1 to 77453. Or go to genucel.com. Now say goodbye to that double chin, the bags and puffiness. You get it tightened, it'll look a lot better, I promise you. And if you don't like it, guess what? It's guaranteed or your money back. Again, order now. You get the Genucel XV Collagen Builder and free express shipping. It's an amazing offer, and it's only available at this time. Special time for Valentine's Day. Text EYES1 77453 or go to genucel.com now. That's genucel.com. Back on the Laura Ingraham podcast. Oh boy. Well, the president in El Paso, obviously the border and the shutdown, the wall, that was a big part of it. But he hit the Democrats on a whole host of issues. And the more I watched, the more I thought, who do they have that's going to go up against this guy? I mean, he is a force of nature. The man has boundless energy. I've never seen anything like it. I mean, the speech I think was supposed to be about 50 minutes. He went on for an hour and 25 minutes. He ad-libbed.
It was amazing. I mean, it's 72 years old. It's unbelievable.
Now, and the crowd was just couldn't get enough of it. And he decided not just to talk about the border, but to hit the Green New Raw Deal. Let's listen.
Last week, they introduced a massive government takeover that would destroy our incredible economic gains. They introduced the so-called Green New Deal. It sounds like a high school term paper that got a low mark. It would shut down American energy, which I don't think the people in Texas are going to be happy with that.
Well, I'm telling you, it was one of those moments where I thought they've gone so far left, they've left America. The Democrat Party take the wrong lesson from 2018, certainly took no lesson from 2016 at all. Their lesson is not that they need a better candidate to reach out to blue collar workers with common sense policies. Their idea is they got to go far left, like a faux version of populism that's just big government. And they've run with that ever since. And they took the false lesson from 2018 that was right. Resisting Trump was right. That was the right thing to do. Remember, where Trump really campaigned hard, he chalked up some pretty big Senate wins. Yeah. Obviously, they lost the House. That was a nightmare. But things could have gone, the other way, and in a lot of races, including governor's races. And good Lord, what would have happened if we lost Florida alone? Florida was critical. Joe Donnelly in Indiana.
Yep, Brian Kemp in Georgia.
I mean, how could we forget? Obviously, he helped Ted Cruz. I mean, right. Beto came within 2 points of beating Ted Cruz. So Ted Cruz was at the rally. A lot of folks were at the rally last night. people were in a good mood. I've got to say, people were in a great mood. You know, it's been a long time since people had seen Trump at one of these rallies, it seems like. It's been a while.
Well, the crowd was jacked up inside and out, and people don't, what it takes. Imagine the last time you stood in 45-degree weather with high winds.
I was dying.
Outside with no promise of getting inside. They knew they could not get in. The house was at capacity. I know, but
I kept saying, why don't you
stand out in the cold? And they did. They stood out in the cold watching the president on Jumbotron just to be near the arena. I mean, this is just what I saw in Houston before the election in November, when the president went into that last rally in Houston, you remember. And it was the same thing. Tens of thousands of people on the street, packed out. Beto had, the high number is 5,000. I think it's less than that. I think he probably had a couple of thousand.
He had a decent crowd. He had a decent crowd.
No, but
it looked like it was not much.
It wasn't 10,000 people.
No,
it didn't
approach Trump's.
No.
I mean, you got to follow Raymond on Twitter. Raymond had great photos posted. So at Raymond Arroyo and on that Ingraham angle. So you just got to follow us on Twitter because you'll see all of our crazy adventures along the way. We were hanging out with Dan Patrick, the lieutenant governor, who's my friend. We were laughing because he's been my friend since 2001 when I started the radio show. Yeah, I started in April 2001. That's how long we've known each other. And we were both kind of, I said, well, maybe I'll go into TV or maybe I'll do some more TV. I done TV before, but I'd like to, maybe I'll go work for Fox. He's like, well, maybe I'll run for some office. I'm like, you should. It's like, maybe I'll run for State House. He said, okay. Now, all these years later, it's just, we all went out afterward. It was a good time. We had a really good time.
Great,
but the president hit it out of the park, and he cast the political landscape in very stark terms, which in simple terms, which I think was very easy for all of us to follow and most people to follow. Like, for instance, they're coming to take your money. They're coming to take your choices. They're coming to take your freedom. And indeed, after he says that, what do we read about? How Cory Booker wants to have government policies encourage more vegan people, veganism, because we can't sustain the meat-eating population because it takes so much land and so forth to raise cattle, and the cow flatulence, I guess, are we back to that? So as far as I can tell, the Democrat agenda is 70% taxes, ending cow flatulence, open borders,
no more cars,
removing air travel from your near future,
and infanticide.
Yeah.
Now, the president, last night, this rally in El Paso was a frame around the issues of 2020. He is framing the political game. And by putting the Democrats in that box, and they should be running like scalded dogs from this narrative, but rather they're leaning into it. They're running around in blackface. They're not penalizing the people who are doing so. You've got anti-Semitic members of Congress threatening people and making horrible statements out there. Okay? Even when the whole caucus comes and says you have to apologize, she apologizes, but nobody penalizes her. She's still got her committee seat. She's still got her seat in Congress.
And she's appearing with some big anti-Semite at some event.
Miss Omar. Yeah. The president, by the way, is asking her to resign. Interesting. He did not ask. He said the party has to figure out what to do with the governor of Virginia.
I pressed him on that.
Yeah. And the lieutenant governor who's wrapped up in a sex
All right. So
accusation.
I think what we'll do now is it's worth hearing it. I know a lot of you're early to bed and you might not have listened to the DVR version of the Ingraham angle. So we're going to play my interview with President Trump exclusively that ran last night in its entirety here on the Laura Ingraham podcast. Let's listen.
Mr. President, word broke late today, early this evening, that there might be some tentative deal struck to avert a government shutdown. What can you tell us?
Well, I can tell you that a lot of things have changed, and we'll see what happens. I can't go into the exact deal. I just heard it very quickly coming over to see you. It was between the deal and you, and I had to choose you because I had no choice, right? And I'm very happy I did. But, yeah, they're talking, and we'll see what happens.
There's an opposing rally kind of going on at the same time as this rally tonight. Beto O'Rourke, young kind of up-and-comer, they say, in the Democrat Party. He and others say the wall is really about hate and racism. To that you say what?
Well, to that I say that, number one, very few people showed up to his rally. And this place is packed with thousands and thousands outside. And I guess he challenged us to an event, so maybe this means he's going to have to drop out of the race because this was not a good situation for him. I don't know why he did it. And it has nothing to do with anything other than safety for the Americans, safety for our people, safety for our country. And a wall is a very good thing, not a bad thing. It's a moral thing, to put it in the opposite terms. And we have tremendous support. We're building it right now. We don't even say build the wall anymore. We say finish the wall, because we've built a lot and we're renovating a tremendous amount of old stuff that was really in bad shape, but it had good structure. So we're saying finish the wall. No, walls are very important. If you don't have it, all of the technology, Laura, all of the drones that they have flying around so nicely up in the air, they don't mean a thing.
What about all these border sheriffs, the ones at the border mayors? They always say, oh, no, we don't need a wall. We're safe. They were challenging some of your statistics on El Paso, even though Juarez has had a terrible year last year for murders, another one.
Well, first of all, Juarez is like the murders are tremendous, and here they have very few. They are not correct. They know they're not correct. And
they say the crime was low. Low before the wall.
Was very high, and then the wall got built. And, you know, really you should talk about the sheriffs that agree with me, which are like 98% of the sheriffs in the country, maybe all of them.
Detention beds, they threw that out. Oh, we're going to reduce the number of detention beds. Yeah. What was that all about?
Well, when you do that, and the Democrats came up with that, because that means that you don't detain people that are very dangerous. That means you have to put them out into our society because our laws are so bad. And if you look at what happened and what's been passed over the years in Congress, it's a shame. It's a disgrace. That means we can't just put them back into Mexico or where they came. We have to put them back into our society. In some cases, they're stone-cold criminals. We can't do that.
Another good piece of economic news came out today, personal confidence in the economy. I think it's at a 16-year high. Yeah. With that, why are so many millennials gravitating in some polls towards socialism over capitalism? And what can you do to reinvigorate their understanding of the free market?
Well, I think they're, number one, they're young. They're idealistic, if you call it idealistic. I think that capitalism is more of an ideal. But if you look at the poll numbers, you look at the kind of numbers that we have, it's been great. I hit my all-time high today, 52%, and that's with only bad stories because the press only gives me bad stories. You treat me fairly.
Were you surprised when some Democrats didn't stand up when you asked that question at the State of the Union about socialism? Or we're never going to be a socialist country? Not everybody stood up.
Because that's where they're coming from. When I see some of the responses, when I see some of the statements made by congressmen and women, I say, are we living in the United States of America? Look, we have a country that's doing the best it's ever done. We are just lapping the world. You compare, it used to be like we were a second sister to China. Now China is looking up to us. We are doing so well, and other countries are not doing well. And that makes it tougher for us in a certain way because we do business with other countries. But we're setting records in so many ways, including record unemployment, meaning in a positive way, meaning.
But they always say, well, Obama started that, and then they'll say, well, there's income inequality. That's the new buzzword. You're going to hear that a lot in 2020. Income inequality. A lot of the young freshman congressmen and some of the candidates in 2020 are really gravitating toward that.
If I would have stayed with what President Obama did, you look at his last months, you look at what happened the first months coming into my term, they were very low. The numbers, the GDP numbers, and everything else. If I would have stayed with those numbers, Laura, we would have had an economy that would have been going way in reverse right now. We opened it up. We got rid of regulations that were unnecessary. We did the biggest tax cuts we've ever done in our country. We opened up the oil. We're the largest oil exporter now. We're the largest oil and gas in the world right now. Nobody thought that was possible this quickly. No, we opened up our country. We're letting people work again. We have more people working today, almost 160 million people. We have more people working today than have ever worked in the United States. It's great.
And yet we didn't have some people stand for that at the State of the Union. You say record low unemployment. Well, what does that tell you about, I got lots of texts. They're trying to paralyze our economy with investigations, all these oversight. You're getting hammered, I know, with requests for documents and so forth, which is part of the oversight. But
well, what's going
on there?
Yeah, what's happened to me should never be allowed to happen to another president. With investigations on things that never took place, like Russia. The Russia collusion, delusion, we call it. I call it a hoax. And, in fact, it was very nice. Richard Burr the other day came out after almost 2 years of investigation. They found absolutely no collusion between Trump and the Russia, which I could have told a lot of people and which I have been saying to a lot of people. This has never happened to it. The Democrats know it's a hoax. This is a political game. So now the Russia thing is dead. And now they say, well, we're going to look at every company that Donald Trump was ever, they don't have any information or anything. We're going to look at every company that Donald Trump was ever involved in. I did great. I made a lot of money. Now they want to go back and investigate every company. We want to go, and we have, I think, 79 different letters from different committees. Democrats.
How are you going to respond to these letters?
Well, for the most part, they're conflicted. I got one from Pocahontas today where it said that Donald Trump, we want to investigate some company that it's so disgraceful. I said, just write her back, say she's got a conflict of interest, okay? And she should focus more on her heritage and not being ashamed of what she is. She should really focus on herself. But we've gotten letters, Laura, from so many committees. I didn't know we had so many committees. I think it's up to 79 letters. This is based on no information of any wrongdoing because I'm a very straight person.
African Americans.
So we went through this whole Russian hoax. Nobody's ever done what I did, where I was hit with this. Now, think of this. Hit with it, and we probably had the greatest first 2 years of any president in our history in terms of what we've accomplished with employment, with GDP, with everything. And companies are moving back into our country, which is one of the great stats.
African Americans in this country, what would you say to the young African American today in Virginia who's seeing the turmoil in that state and just and wants to kind of understand what the race issue is like pummeling us on all sides?
It's a terrible situation. I think that the Republicans are going to do very well in Virginia. I think a lot of things are happening in Virginia. I didn't campaign in Virginia because I was told that a Republican
not much, a few stops,
very
not much,
little,
at the very
but virtually not. But yeah, I started looking at numbers. I said, why aren't I there? But I didn't. You know, they sort of assumed that that's a Democrat state, and as you know, I did very well there without having gone. I think Virginia is ready to flip over to something, and I'll tell you, African Americans are coming to the Republican Party like nobody can believe. A lot of things are happening, a lot of very positive things.
Should Northam resign?
Well, I watched his news conference. It was pretty sad. It was a sad look. Let them figure out what to do. But I felt sorry for his wife. And his wife saved him from doing, as you know, Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
He was going to try and imitate Michael Jackson with the moonwalk. Nobody can imitate Michael with the moonwalk, and this would not have been a pretty. You add that little couple of seconds of footage onto what he did, but it was a pretty bad situation.
Mr. President, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Appreciate it.
It was a lot of fun.
He was talkative. He was fun. He was engaged. It was a different Trump.
Yeah.
It was a different.
He was very
tone.
confident.
Yeah.
Extremely confident.
But he was easy with you. And sometimes I've seen him in these interviews, particularly before rallies. He's stiff and tight because he's focused on the rally.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to do an interview. You're going out and have thousands of people, and you got to do another thing. People don't realize how much this takes to do these things. It's a lot.
It's very stressful.
And remember, Obama's 20 years younger than he is. Almost. Well, not quite, but almost. So the big difference. And he was jumping up on stage. Big difference.
I'll say.
So we have to play this. So Mitch McConnell, the wily old dog from Kentucky, the Senate Majority Leader, who drives us crazy, but we love him on a lot of things because he's a wily, canny legislator. Operator. So he sees this green new raw vegan deal as a real opportunity for Republicans. And so he would like to send this new deal to the Senate floor for a vote. Now, there isn't actually legislation. It was a resolution.
Right.
So how is that going to work? Yeah, it's like a tactic. This tactic he's used in recent years to flush out the Democrats and say, okay, you want this game? You put your name on it. You put your reputation, all your political chips. You put them down for this Green New Deal, and we'll see see if they run or not. Let's listen.
I've noted with great interest the Green New Deal, and we're going to be voting on that in the Senate. We'll give everybody an opportunity to go on record and see how they feel about the Green New Deal.
Well, clearly, he's calling their bluff, and he wants to get them on the record. Now, you and I know and you just said it. It's a resolution. It doesn't do anything.
Yeah.
The legislation is not.
They're going to kick it over to the 7 or 8 different, 15 different committees, and they'd all have to come up with their own ways of getting to these goals of no cars. And
it's look. This
I
is
love
a
how they
crazy
get rid of
thing.
nuclear. I love how they get rid of nuclear energy, which is the cleanest form of energy. Period.
But this is a way to get the Democratic nominees: Kamala Harris, Bernie Sanders, Kirsten Gillibrand, Elizabeth Warren, Cory Booker,
it's not
Amy
fair, Raymond. It's
Klobuchar.
not fair that you're always picking on the indigenous people, and it's not right. And my papa said that my cheekbones were high, by golly, and I didn't mean to be I wasn't trying to be a tribal leader myself, although I think I put a doggone good one if I put my mind to it.
Well, she's going to be voting any day now, and it's to get them on the record. So it's not just, oh, I support it, but you voted for that, Senator X, and then they're going to be able to lay out the madness of this thing. And when the American people realize what's in it, I guess the thinking is they'll run away from this candidate.
Oh, pray tell, what does Kamala and Cory think about all this? Let's listen.
I support a Green New Deal, and I will tell you why. Climate change is an existential threat to us, and we have got to deal with the reality of it.
When the planet has been in peril in the past, who came forward to save Earth from the scourge of Nazi and totalitarian regimes? We came forward.
Oh, I thought for a moment he was talking about Captain America or something. Who came forward to? He's got the Beto false passion. Who came forward when we were up against it? Who made it happen?
Oh, no,
There's a lot of excitement on the other side. A lot of excitement doesn't add up to a lot, but there's passion or the desire for passion.
All I know is old Scarborough on Morning Joe saw that rally last night, and he finally got a light bulb.
Oh
no, he basically was saying watching this deal shows you that the Democrats better be careful. Better be careful.
There was a closing argument, and any Democrat that thinks they're going to cakewalk to beating Donald Trump in 2020 like they thought in 2016 and like everybody in the press thought in 2016 need to watch the last 4 or 5 minutes of his speech and understand Democrats have an uphill battle here. It's not going to be easy.
But back to the point we were raising earlier, that this is the first salvo from Trump really in the 2020 race. I can't believe we're already here. But getting into the second week of February 2019, and Trump is framing the race. Again, what did I say earlier? In stark terms. Now listen closely to how he frames it.
I want to take away your car, reduce the value of your home, and put millions of Americans out of work, spend $100 trillion, which, by the way, there's no such thing as $100 trillion. You have to spend $100 trillion. And remember this, no other country except us is going to do it. That's a little problem, too.
We're going to take a break here on the Laura Ingraham podcast. We have a lot more to get to. And remember, it's very important. If you love this podcast as much as we love doing it, then you've got to be loving our sponsors because they make it all possible. And one of my favorites is a partner of ours that we've been working with for some time now. And again, it's because you guys are busy, you don't want to waste time. Stamps.com, they are awesome. You do not have to leave your home to send out letters and packages anymore. You can save your time, you can save your money by using Stamps.com. They bring all the amazing services of the Postal Service right to your computer at home. So it's faster, it's more convenient. And you simply use your computer to print out official U.S. postage for any letter, any package, any class of mail, anywhere. And anywhere you want to send it, and the mail carrier just picks it up. So no more lugging mail to the post office. No more hassle. Stamps.com not only saves you time, it saves you money, too. With Stamps.com, you get discounted postage rates you can't even get at the post office. So again, Stamps.com, convenient, easy, reliable. If I can use it, you can use it. And right now, you can enjoy the Stamps.com service with a special offer. It includes a 4-week trial, plus postage and a digital scale. So start the new year right with Stamps.com. Click on the mic at the top of the homepage and type in Ingram. That's Stamps.com. Enter Ingram.
If you look inside your bags, you will find a few things. A bouquet of hand-crocheted flower pens, a mosaic portrait of each of you made from the crushed bottles of your favorite diet soda, and a personalized 5,000-word essay of why you're all so awesome. What's Galentine's Day? Oh, it's only the best day of the year. Every February 13th, my lady friends and I leave our husbands and our boyfriends at home, and we just come and kick it breakfast style. Ladies celebrating ladies. It's like Lilith Fair, minus the angst. Plus frittatas. So, to conclude our Galentine's Day breakfast, it is time for the greatest story ever told.
What's the story?
It's the most romantic story ever. It makes The Notebook look like Saw 5.
Oh, dear. Must we really do this subject, Raymond? Honestly. Galentine's Day. That was from Parks and Recreation, right?
Well, that's where it started. But now, this is from the Wall Street Journal. Walmart and other retailers, everyone from Hallmark to Walmart, suddenly has an idea. Women across the country are embracing a ladies-only spin on Valentine's Day called Galentine's Day, a celebration of female friendship marked by brunches, pink drinks, and each other. No boys allowed, 35-year-old project manager Amanda Nizel, who hosted a Galentine's Day brunch in Brooklyn, New York, said. So they are trying to jumpstart, and here's why. Only 51% of Americans will celebrate Valentine's Day this year, okay? Down from a high of 63%, according to the National Retail Federation. So Hallmark has got to sell those cards. Florists want to move the flowers.
Money.
And how do you do that? Galentine's Day. So women buy gifts for other women.
Okay. Is this pressure for yours truly to go out and like have one more item on my to-do list to just tell people they're special?
Yes. It's a momentary buy fiesta between Christmas and Easter.
No. Okay, there's a lot to say about this, and not much of it is very good. Okay,
well,
here's what. Okay,
I'm going to tell. I have an upside.
As a single person, I guess you can call me single.
Yes.
And I'm not answering questions about you know whom, so forget that. So I get it. Like when you're not with somebody, Valentine's Day can, I guess, seem like pressure or drag, especially if you're younger, I guess. Like in your 20s, most people don't care after that. But if you're single, I guess you could feel left out. So it's a way for people to, it's a way for us to be inclusive and tolerant of those who don't have anyone.
I know, but then that begs the question.
It's a Hallmark Day.
Now are we going to have Others Day instead of Mother's Day?
That is a
we'll
big
have
thing.
Others Day.
That is a big thing.
So what is that? Anybody you like who's older, they get a card and you have to take them to brunch? Is that Others Day? I mean, how many other alternative?
This is the American Retail Association and the Restaurateurs Association getting together.
I think.
And those who make really bad sparkling wine that gives you a headache association, because they're all getting together. The people who make sparkling rosé.
As the grandson of a restaurateur, 50 years, I'll never forget. My grandfather used to walk onto the floor on Valentine's Day, and I would bring a date to his restaurant, and he'd go, "Deuces, nothing but deuces," looking across his restaurant. Only 2 tops. He hated that. He wanted 4, 5, 6 people because you got more drinks, you get more money spent. Yeah, you get bottles of wine. Deuces, you never get that. 2 people at a table.
And you never get rid of them. They're there just
holding hands and mooning all night long.
Mooning at each other.
Gobbling the table and real estate while people are waiting in the bar. So this is a way to get mobs of people, a table full of women, 6, 8, 10 women, instead of 2. This is brilliant from a marketing strategy. And who buys cards and crap? Who does that? Who buys gifts and cards and crap?
Women.
Thank you. That's the reality.
By the way, cards.
I would prefer a letter than a damn processed
the cards that you buy, especially with the sayings inside, the writing inside the cards, it really reflects the poor writing of our society in general. Have you noticed it's actually got
They're
worse,
awful.
if possible?
Yeah, they have no art about them. They're not pretty, and they're not even moving.
No.
By the way, Hallmark has 16 Galentine Day cards, reading things like, wouldn't you love to get this, Lord?
Oh, no.
Be my Galentine. What would I do without a friend like you?
How long did it take them to come up with that line?
Thank you, Tennyson.
Yeah. Keats move over.
It's terrible. Walmart's been expanding.
Veritable Wordsworth.
Yeah, Walmart's been expanding its Galentine's Day offering, putting products on display at 1,000 stores. The retailer began selling these items, cards, as well as balloons saying "Girl Gang" and "Fries before guys." Now,
good. We're encouraging obesity. Too.
This is so fries before guys.
I don't think Michelle Obama would like that. Remember, she used to say she in her Let's Move campaign, she said, "I love French fries," but she was all for women forgoing to French fries.
Research showed the concept appealed to more adult women, so the company shifted to products such as wine glasses that read, "Wine is my Valentine," and flasks that say, "Ex-boyfriend tears." This is a Lonely Hearts Man-Haters Club. Let's face it. Galentine's Day is a very anti-male. I'm feeling marginalized.
You're feeling very toxic.
Yeah, I am. I'm feeling very marginalized. I'm a marginalized person on Galentine's Day. Galentine's Day popped up, of course, in Parks and Rec, which we played at the top. Since the show went off the air, it's evolved into a social dynamic.
Is Festivus a real holiday from Seinfeld too?
I guess.
Festivus for the rest of us.
Anything people will accept.
This is all about
somebody
money.
Can sell. Yeah. Look, she needed a her, so that's what she became.
A hero, and the hero. Nice job,
Sorry.
Raymond. It says her with a heart sign, and Raymond thought it meant a her. It's hero. So that's what she became. In other words, as Whitney Houston sang, "You've got to love yourself."
The greatest love of all.
I never really did get that one.
Yeah, where I lived, that was a sin. But okay.
What are you doing in there,
You had to
Junior?
confess that. Okay.
What are you doing in there?
Look at this cookie.
Mom, I'll be right there. Don't open the door.
The cookie says, "Be mine," with a line through it, and it says, "Be my equal."
Oh, brother.
Oh, God. And then the card, an invitation. Ladies celebrating ladies. Arlie Cakes in Richmond, Virginia offers heart-shaped Galentine's cookies.
Nice.
Thank you, next. And treat yourself. That's the inscription on the cookies. There is a kind of implicit male bias.
It's a male bashing.
It is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
now, what I mean,
it's women's friendship on the rebound from a bad relationship. That's what it sounds like. We're going to get together and commiserate about the men who done us wrong. The night is bitter.
It's so boring.
Valentine's Day.
You know what I say? You move on. You find that next better person.
Right.
And, that's just the way it is. You got to just move on, girls. Don't.
Do we get to have a Valentine's Day? If they have a Galentine's Day, do we get a Valentine's Day where we can watch football and I guess hit the clubs? I mean, is there a male
It's
counterpart?
kind of a nonstop, kind of a bachelor's party.
Yeah, right.
There have been entire movies written about that crap.
I guess most people call that Sunday. You don't have to have
That's people like, we just go golfing. Let's ditch them. Let's let them do their dumb Galentine.
Let them go to the spa.
Yeah, we're gonna go hit the golf ball, okay? Oh my God! Now, and also, I must say, just because you brought it up and you showed me this Wall Street Journal tear sheet on the Galentine's Day.
Yes.
I find it depressing, the Galentine's Day, because I have really good female friends.
Yes, but you wouldn't take them to a Galentine Day celebration?
I'd rather die than do that. We don't need an excuse to be friends. We're just friends for 30 years. My friends are friends for 30 years.
Again, I think I'm
Raymond, do I have good friends?
Yes, you do.
Do I have friends that will I have friends that walk across glass for me.
Yeah.
Because I do it for them. I mean, I do have really good friends. I'm blessed. Which must be something. What's the song?
I must have done something good.
Yeah.
Rodgers and Hammerstein.
Right. Yeah. Must have.
Somewhere in my wicked childhood, I must have done something good.
I love that line. Such a great line. Could you please send me some type of memorandum when we can retire the idea of themed workouts. Okay? It was bad enough back in the 70s when it was just step aerobics, or 80s, or it was step
You're referring
aerobics.
to the bottom of the Wall Street Journal tear
Yeah.
sheet, beneath the Galentine story.
This kind of tells you all you need
Right.
to know. The girls are all by themselves.
This is why we have Galentine's.
Yeah, and then you have a man, his gym class turns into a Bollywood musical.
I have no words.
And he's doing dance moves. Now, I understand a lot of people like these Zumba classes.
Themed classes.
So it's kind of the mixed martial arts classes. It was kickboxing and Taibo, and it was...
This is Bali X, they call this. Bali X.
P90X.
We should do a demonstration of this on the Ingraham angle one night. Bali X, where we will do the Bollywood moves.
Oh, no, that's Shannon Brame.
Well, maybe we could incorporate this into a Friday rollover from your show right into Fox News at night.
But,
it'll be a two-parter.
People are so needy now. I don't like needy people. And my kids are fine. I don't need adult men to be needy. And I just don't like, there's too much neediness.
Well, men do have their needs.
Well, that's fine. I'm all for that.
Okay.
Believe me. I have no problem. I get that. But I'm talking about neediness in your workout. Like, you have to have someone show you something different. You can't just go to the gym and work out.
And lift a weight.
Yeah, lift a weight, go for a run. You have to, then you need someone to show you an exotic dance move, or you need to hang from a strap from the ceiling and then stretch your legs that way, or you need to, it's all a little much. It's self-indulgent.
But it's like the United States, sadly. We are a country that craves and rewards constant novelty.
Yeah,
we like novelty over traditional things that are proven. We will go for the novelty every time. And that's a flaw, I think, in our culture. It is a flaw in our culture. Like, you see me, I don't need a new gumbo. I love the old gumbo. People are always introducing new gumbos. I go to some of these fancy restaurants. I don't want your corn gumbo.
Oh, celery gumbo.
No, I don't want your kale gumbo.
Oh, God,
just give me gumbo. I want seafood gumbo or chicken andouille gumbo, nothing else.
Yeah.
That's all. I know they have herb gumbo. It gets too much.
No.
It's too much. And I feel the same way about a workout. Lift the weight, do 8 reps, move on.
Yeah, no.
Sweat, move on.
Bollywood.
Bali X.
Bali X. Okay, so just for fun, Kamala Harris has went on a radio show, kind of a video podcast kind of deal, I guess. And she was talking about, among other things, smoking weed. And yes, she inhaled. Let's listen.
Have you ever smoked?
I have.
Okay. Like
I inhaled. I did inhale.
Okay.
It was a long time ago. But yes.
I know you have to go. They say you have to go.
I just broke news.
I mean, was it in college? See, I like stuff like that. That's a real honest answer.
Real.
Was it a blunt or joint?
It was a joint.
Hey.
Yeah.
You remember the high?
I do.
So if it was legalized all throughout the country and medicinal, would you do it?
Listen, I think that it gives a lot of people joy, and we need more joy.
We need more joy in this world.
So she laughingly says she smoked in college, she inhaled, and if it gives people more joy, well, we need more joy.
There's a lot of things that bring people joy that, we probably as a society
should condemn
twice about. Yeah. And should be condemning. Fentanyl makes people feel really good until they die from it. I say this all the time, this pot legalization will go down as one of the biggest mistakes we've seen in this country. So you can talk about lessening penalties and all that, and I'm fine with that. But the idea of decriminalizing it totally is a big mistake. And you see what's happening with the Juul cigarettes, the 600% increase in 1 year from 2016, 2018, 2017, 600% increase.
Right. And the CDC blames vaping and Juuls for the increase in teen smoking.
Right.
Remember, this was the promise that was going to get everybody off of smoking. Didn't work.
All the pot can also be put in the vape cartridges can be replaced with pot. So that's ultimately where this thing is going. So you get kids hooked on that movement of the Juul cartridge to their mouths, and it's the vapor liquid. But you replace the supposedly, but it's not, innocuous cartridge with the flavor and so forth.
Right. That makes it better.
With the marijuana infused device.
Well, then they move on to cigarettes.
It always goes that way. And the Trump administration was smartly moving to basically regulate out of existence, at least with the marketing to kids, these flavored Juul things. It's all stupid. It's just all dumb and it's all stupid. We have enough stupid stuff in our culture. We don't need any more stupid stuff.
They smartly outlawed like the candy, cotton candy flavors, caramel flavors, strawberry flavors, because that was being marketed to kids as a gateway. And it's nicotine, and they get wet lung. This is a health crisis. And now we find out it's moving them into smoking. Real cigs.
By the way, new news also breaking on the health effects of immigration into the United States. By now, many of you have heard about the measles outbreak in the Pacific Northwest. And they're very careful not to reveal what they think is causing this, but it's migration of people. Arizona health officials now are warning that the measles outbreak in the Pacific Northwest that has infected more than 50 people may be making its way to Arizona, to the Southwest. According to the Public Library of Science Journal, Maricopa County is a hot spot for measles outbreak due to the high number of anti-vaxxers, those who oppose vaccinations in the area. Arizona offers vaccine exemptions for medical reasons, and Maricopa has allowed many to do so. And then the Arizona Department of Health Services released a statement that they strongly support vaccination as the primary prevention method for a large number of diseases. They suggest children get vaccinated. Well, here's the problem. So while there certainly are people who decide for whatever the reason they have not to get their kids vaccinated, and a lot of people have I understand that. A lot of people have problems with vaccinations. I prefer to vaccinate my kids, and that's good. I just think it's what we know, and I hope it's the right thing. It seems like the right thing. The 18 states showing an increase in exemptions from vaccinations are Arkansas, Arizona, Idaho, Maine, Minnesota, North Dakota, Ohio, that's a lot, Michigan, Missouri, Washington, and Wisconsin. The study isolated 15 metropolitan areas where more than 400 kindergarten-age children aren't vaccinated. Now, are they telling me that this has nothing to do whatsoever with immigration? I don't think that can be right, because we know from the border reports that we've received, they have no way of demonstrating whether the phases of the measles vaccine, remember you have to get it in 2 or 3 phases.
Right.
So you have no idea whether the people coming into the country have gotten the phases. So they'll say, oh yeah, I was vaccinated, but they don't have a record. Look, we're letting them into the country without any proper identification. So you tell me how we're demanding and mandating that they actually have, that they're not already infected. And as we know, in Tijuana, they're finding people with mumps, measles, TB, all sorts of issues. It's bad.
And these are all diseases that we had stamped out effectively in the United States because of vaccination.
All we're saying is, given what the Border Patrol has told us, it's really important that we as a people understand what is causing these series of outbreaks. And also, no one is talking about the epilepsy disease, epilepsy-like disease that paralyzed all those kids. They don't know what that is or how that came into the country. What's a mutated disease? There's very little we're being told about this. And I personally have a problem with that, when we aren't told the specifics of what the officials know. And if political correctness is getting in the way, that's a problem. Now, I'm willing to reserve judgment on this, but I'm also very aware of the fact that the authorities want to hide this information or refrain from releasing information for fear of targeting an entire population or demeaning an entire population or discriminating against We're not advocating for that. But what we are saying, it's one other reason why you have to have an orderly flow of immigration. At Ellis Island, they quarantine people. At Angel Island, they quarantine people. Of course, off San Francisco Bay. Because it was for the health and protection of your population, lest you have an outbreak of some hideous disease raging through your populace. You can't have that. And by the way, must we play more Kamala or Kamala? Well, she listened to two of her favorite artists when she was high.
Oh,
what were you listening to when you was high? What was on? What song was it?
Oh my goodness! Oh yeah, definitely Snoop. Tupac for sure.
One problem here, kids. Their first albums were released years after she left college when she said this. She was trying to be too cool. It reminds me of Hillary Clinton saying she was named after Sir Edmund Hillary.
Right.
When he hadn't climbed Everest by the time she was born.
Right.
All right. So they're all trying to be too cool for school instead of just saying, yeah, I did. I don't remember what.
I don't recall the details. They get snagged. The details inevitably snag them. So ridiculous.
No, it's silly. You're listening to the Laura Ingraham podcast. And remember, my friends at Legacy Box, it's so great. So if you have old photos or VHS recordings, even audio recordings, they're not organized, they're not digitized, you just don't know what to do, and it's just like a big albatross around your neck every time you open that drawer up and you see all those precious memories in there. All you need to do is go to legacybox.com/Ingram. Again, all you do is go to legacybox.com/Ingram. You put all your tapes and your old photos and audio tapes, put it in the box, and they'll digitize it for you. Okay, it's a great deal for you and your family. You'll be a hero because now finally you can have all this stuff in easy to store in preservation format. So you get it in a DVD, you can get it in a thumb drive, or just a digital download. Okay, so legacybox.com/Ingram. It's extremely easy. And when you go there now, you actually can save. It's a special offer just for the listeners of the Laura Ingraham podcast. Okay, so legacybox.com/Ingram, and you save 40%. That's 40%. So it's really cool. Again, I'm doing it. You should do it. Just do it because otherwise you're going to kick yourself. You're going to lose these photos or the tapes and they're going to degrade and then you're going to have nothing. Okay, so legacybox.com/Ingram, and you're good to go. Saving your memories for a lifetime. And just to bookend our discussion, by the way, on this border deal before we close out, this is politics. So both sides are going to try to couch this in terms of whatever's good for them politically. So I'll say, oh, well, no, we won. They lost, we won. Well, neither side got exactly what they wanted. But look, if you had to score this, you just had to score it. I think the Democrats will say they have the momentary win on this. But long term, it might help Trump because it's revealed that the Democrats are ever more radicalized, are committed to open borders, and frankly want to tear down barriers, as Beto O'Rourke has stated. And when they get the chance, they'll advocate on the side of illegal immigrants even more so than they do for the American people. And, you know, we heard it from Menendez with saying that DUIs shouldn't matter. People, they want to institutionalize and codify, I should say, catch and release by limiting the number of detention beds. I mean, who came up with that crazy idea? Meaning you have to release people once you catch them because you just simply don't have the beds to keep them. And Bob Costa of the Washington Post was reporting that, you know, Trump will probably...
Looks like that, according to advisors, they're telling Bob Costa that Trump is expected to complain and tweet furiously about the Dems all week, but ultimately he's going to sign this deal and work with Mulvaney and vote to use executive authority to put money toward barriers, and that Pat Cipollone, the White House counsel, is reviewing U.S. Code 284, which would give him that authority. Mm-hmm. Now, Nita Lowey, who's the appropriations chairman, she's declaring victory, saying, frankly, it denies the president billions of dollars for the concrete wall that he demanded, right. while Shelby, the senator from Alabama, is saying it's a down payment for the wall. So everybody's trying to declare victory on this.
Well, again, the Democrats might have the momentary crowing. For the moment, they can crow. But come 2020, I don't think most Americans are where they are. I really don't. I think we still love our country. We love our homeland. We want to keep it safe and protect it. Common sense stuff. All right, you're listening to Lowering a Podcast. I want to thanks again to all of our sponsors who are supporting this show. Genucell, you order now and you get your Genucell XV Collagen Builder and free express shipping. Text EYES1 77453. That's EYES1 to 77453, or go to genucell.com, stamps.com. Go to stamps.com and type in Ingraham for a special offer.
American way. Of course, the next best thing to a seat in the stands is a seat in front of a 19-inch RCA Victor television. One more day to Labor Day weekend, the traditional occasion for tasty outdoor barbecues or picnics.
Times Square, 42nd Street. Transfer is available.
1,